You know that feeling? That tightening in your chest when criticism lands, especially if it's about someone or something you really care about.
Absolutely.
We've all been there. That almost instant urge to jump in, defend, maybe even, push back. How does that usually play out for you, listening in?
It's such a fundamental human thing, isn't it, that reactivity? And today we're actually going to dig into some, well, incredibly relevant insights from ancient India.
Foundational teachings from the Buddhist tradition.
Yeah, we've got excerpts from teachings attributed to the Buddha.
It's an English translation of Buddha's discourses.
Yeah, translated by Venerable Kiribathgoda Gnanananda Thero. Teachings from Jedda's Grove in Savatthi.
Okay.
And they offer a really powerful alternative to just getting sort of swept away by those first reactions.
Ancient wisdom for modern meltdowns, perhaps.
Something like that. We're diving into these excerpts that focus on how to cultivate a real sense of inner steadiness, how to choose a constructive response when negativity pops up.
Right. Whether it's aimed at us directly or maybe at people we feel close to.
Exactly. And the goal for this deep dive really is to pull out practical guidance, to understand how we build genuine resilience, respond with compassion, thoughtful consideration, instead of just that knee-jerk stuff.
Okay, so where do we start? What's the first scenario these teachings tackle?
It kicks off with a specific situation, actually, involving a monk named Maliafaguna.
Maliafaguna, okay.
And we learn he was spending, well, quite a lot of time with some nuns.
Which, on its own, maybe doesn't sound like a huge issue.
Not necessarily on the surface, no. But the challenge came up when other people started criticizing these nuns, in front of him.
Okay. And how did he react?
His immediate response, anger, defensiveness. He'd get into these heated arguments.
Then it went both ways.
It did. The nuns, similarly, if anyone criticized Maliafaguna when they were around, they'd get angry too, argue back.
So it's like this shared emotional tripwire. Their connection meant an attack on one felt like an attack on both.
Precisely. That closeness sort of created this mirroring of emotional states, which is exactly where the Buddha's wisdom steps in.
How so? Did someone notice this pattern?
Yes. Another monk observed what was happening and brought it to the Buddha's attention.
So a concern was flagged. What did the Buddha do?
He called Maliafaguna in directly and asked him straight up if the reports were true. Was he spending all this time with the nuns? Was he getting angry when they were criticized?
And did he confirm it?
He did, yes.
Okay, so the situation is laid out. What was the Buddha's take on it? Why was this happening? And what should the response be?
Well, the Buddha's first point was about the monastic life itself. He emphasized that for someone who's, left the lay life out of faith, that kind of intense attachment, it brings its own set of problems.
Right, the idea being to lessen those bonds that can cloud judgment or disturb your peace.
Exactly. You need that bit of detachment for clarity. And then he shared the core teaching. He told Maliafaguna, when others criticize people you care for, the vital step is to actively let go of any clinging or attached thoughts about them.
That's quite a shift. Instead of defending them, you work on your internal connection to them first. How did he suggest doing that, practically?
He gave really specific instructions for self-discipline. This is key, he said. My mind will remain unchanged. I will utter no evil words. I will abide compassionate for their welfare, with a mind of loving kindness without secret animosity.
Wow. Okay, my mind will remain unchanged.
That's the bedrock. You refuse to let the external negativity dictate your internal state. You basically dismantle the suffering right there and create space for, well, calm.
That's a powerful reframe. Consciously deciding not to be swayed emotionally, holding back negative speech, and actively generating compassion, even for the critic. That feels really counterintuitive sometimes.
It's definitely a practice,
Right.
a conscious training. And the Buddha took it further to even tougher scenarios.
Like what?
He said, even if someone were to physically harm the nuns, like hitting them, throwing stones, using sticks or weapons, the same principle of non-reactivity and compassion should apply internally.
That really pushes things, doesn't it? Our instinct is usually to protect, maybe physically shield people we care about.
It does challenge that. But the focus here is squarely on maintaining your own inner balance, not letting external actions hijack your internal world. The instruction is consistent. My mind will remain unchanged.
I will utter no evil words. I will abide compassionate.
For their welfare, with a mind of loving kindness, without secret animosity. Yes.
So it's about this radical inner strength, not saying the harmful actions are okay, but choosing your response so it doesn't just add more negativity. And I guess this applies just as much when the criticism or harm is aimed at us personally.
Absolutely. The Buddha makes that clear. The same principles, the same training applies when you yourself face criticism or even physical harm. It's identical.
My mind will remain unchanged. It keeps coming back to that core commitment. It's a potent anchor.
Yeah.
And the text then kind of zooms out a bit, right? To talk about what makes someone truly disciplined.
Yes, it does. The Buddha contrasts disciples who are, agreeable and pleasant when everything was going well, maybe when they were being praised.
Easy to be agreeable then.
Right. He contrasts them with those who showed real self-mastery when things got difficult. The true test isn't when life is easy, it's when you hit unpleasantness.
That rings true. It's when we're challenged that our real stuff tends to come out.
Exactly. The Buddha actually recalls a time when the whole monastic community readily followed his guidance on simple living, like eating just one meal a day. He uses this great analogy.
Oh, yeah.
He compares those monks, the ones naturally inclined to virtue, to well-trained horses.
Okay.
A skilled charioteer barely has to do anything, just a light touch, a reminder. Guiding them was easy.
So some people just have that disposition. But the point isn't just about them, surely. It's about when it's not easy.
Precisely. The underlying message is about the continuous effort, the need for ongoing effort to abandon the unwholesome stuff and cultivate the wholesome, especially when things are tough. And this leads beautifully into that story about Vedehika.
Vedehika.
Yeah.
The housewife who was supposedly, obedient, humble, peaceful. Sounds almost too good to be true.
Well, that's exactly what her servant, Kai, thought. Kai was clever, and she kind of suspected this reputation might be a bit superficial.
So she decided to test it.
She did. Subtly.
Wow. What did she do?
She just started waking up late. Intentionally. 3 mornings in a row.
Okay. Testing the patience. What happened?
The first morning, Vedehika showed just a little irritation. A frown, maybe a sharp word, a tiny crack in the peaceful facade.
Uh-huh.
The second morning, the anger was clearer. More obvious displeasure.
And the third morning, I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah. The third time, Vedehika completely lost it, just flew into a rage and actually grabbed a door bolt.
No.
And struck Kai on the head, injuring her.
Wow. So much for peaceful and humble.
Exactly. So Kate, hurt and probably pretty upset, went outside and told everyone what happened. Blew Vedehika's cover completely, showed her calm, only lasted as long as things went her way.
That's such a stark story. A perfect example of how easily that composure can just shatter when our expectations aren't met. How does this tie back to the monks and the main teaching?
Well, the Buddha uses it as an illustration. Some people, maybe some monks too, might seem obedient or peaceful, but only as long as they aren't challenged. Only as long as they don't hear unpleasant things.
Their true nature, or maybe their lack of training, comes out under pressure.
Right. And he draws this important distinction. There's obedience that's motivated by, say, getting stuff, good robes, food, a nice place to stay, medicine, material gain.
Okay.
And then there's genuine obedience, the kind rooted in real respect for the teachings themselves, for the Dharma.
So it's not just about following rules when it's convenient. It's about an internal commitment to the principles, especially when it's hard.
That's it exactly. The training, the text reminds us, is we will live in obedience, honoring the Dhamma, respecting the Dhamma, holding the Dhamma in high esteem. That inner reverence is the source of real resilience.
Okay, so we've seen how attachment and just sort of superficial niceness can fail us. What's next? Do the teachings talk about the different ways criticism can come at us?
They do, because you're right. Negativity isn't monolithic. It comes in different packages.
Makes sense.
The text lays out 5 ways we might hear words spoken to us.
5 ways, okay.
Timely or untimely, true or false, gentle or harsh, beneficial or harmful, and spoken with loving kindness or spoken with ill will.
That covers a lot of ground from, maybe feedback that's true but delivered badly, all the way to outright lies meant to hurt.
It really does span the spectrum. And the crucial point, the core instruction here, is that our internal response needs to be consistent, no matter which of those 5 ways the words arrive.
Regardless of timing, truth, tone, intent, the inner training stays the same.
Exactly. Whether they're timely or not, true or false, gentle or harsh, helpful or harmful, said with kindness or malice.
Let me guess. My mind will remain unchanged. I will utter no evil words. I will abide compassionate for their welfare. with a mind of loving kindness without secret animosity.
You've got it. That's the constant refrain. And it goes further. The teaching emphasizes extending that loving kindness, that metta, not just to the speaker, but radiating it outward to the whole world, cultivating this vast, boundless, hate-free mind.
So meeting negativity, not with more negativity or even just neutral deflection, but with active, pervasive goodwill. It's a high bar, which I suppose is where those powerful analogies come in handy to help us grasp this kind of mental resilience.
Exactly. They make it more concrete. The first one is the earth.
Okay, the earth.
Imagine someone trying to, destroy the earth. They dig at it, scatter the soil, spit on it, urinate on it. The text is quite graphic.
Yeah.
But these actions, however unpleasant, they don't fundamentally change the earth, do they? The earth is vast. It just absorbs it. It remains.
Right. It's steadfast. Unshakable, really.
Precisely. And in the same way, a well-trained mind shouldn't be fundamentally disturbed by negative words, no matter how they're delivered, timely, untimely, true, false, harsh, gentle. The mind remains firm like the earth. And that discipline holds. My mind will remain unchanged.
Okay, so the earth symbolizes stability, this capacity to absorb without being altered. What's the next image?
The sky. Or, more specifically, empty space. Imagine trying to paint pictures on the air, on the sky itself.
You can't. There's nothing for the paint to stick to.
Exactly. It's formless. So negative words, like those futile attempts to paint the sky, can't leave lasting stains or defilements on a mind trained in equanimity. It remains open, vast, unblemished.
Like the sky. I like that. It speaks to that sense of spaciousness, that negativity can't actually define you if you don't let it stick.
Right. And again, the discipline is the same internal commitment. The third analogy, the river.
A river. Okay.
Picture someone bringing a tiny burning torch, like a little piece of grass on fire, and trying to use it to heat up and boil the Ganges River.
That's absurd. The scale is just completely off. A huge river and a tiny flame.
Utterly disproportionate. And harsh words, the text suggests, are like that tiny flame. They simply cannot heat up, cannot inflame or agitate a mind that is vast and deep and filled with loving kindness. Like the great river, it remains cool, undisturbed.
Coolness, depth, the ability to absorb heat without being fundamentally changed. Got it. What's number 4?
Number 4 is a bit more unusual, maybe. A catskin bag.
A catskin bag. What's the significance of that?
Well, apparently a well-treated catskin bag was known for being very smooth, soft, and silent. So imagine trying to make this smooth, silent bag produce rough, jarring noises by hitting it with a stick or a stone.
Because it's soft and smooth. It wouldn't make a harsh sound, right? It would just absorb the impact silently.
Precisely. Its nature is smooth and silent. Similarly, negative intentions or harsh words hitting a mind that is well-guarded, peaceful, filled with that loving kindness. They can't create inner turmoil. The mind remains smooth, untroubled, like the bag.
Inner smoothness, resilience to jarring impacts. Okay, that leaves one more. And I have a feeling it's the most intense one, the saw.
Yes. Saw simile. This is the ultimate test case, really. The Buddha presents this incredibly extreme scenario. Imagine bandits, robbers capturing you, and they start to cut off your limbs piece by piece with a double-handled saw.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's horrifying to even visualize.
It is a truly brutal image. And the instruction is, even then, even in that extremity, one should not allow ill will to arise in the mind towards them.
Not even then. That seems almost superhuman.
It's presented as the pinnacle of the practice. The Buddha states that if you were to feel anger or hatred, even in that situation, you wouldn't be truly following his teaching.
So even facing that unimaginable violence, the internal discipline is the same.
Exactly the same. My mind will remain unchanged. I will utter no evil words. I will abide compassionate for their welfare with a mind of loving kindness without secret animosity.
Wow. That just underscores the absolute unconditional nature of this training.
It really does. And the text concludes this section by saying, if you frequently reflect on this saw simile, then you won't find any kind of speech, whether it's a little bit unpleasant or a whole lot unbearable. It puts everything else in perspective.
Right. So pulling this all together then, this deep dive really hammers home the importance of, well, non-reactivity, of actively cultivating compassion, maintaining that inner peace, that equanimity, no matter what's happening externally, whether it's praise or blame, whether it's aimed at us or people we care about.
That's the core message. True strength isn't about building higher walls or having sharper counterattacks. It's about mastering our own internal landscape.
It's that ongoing commitment, isn't it? To keep the mind steady, hold back the harmful words, and consciously choose loving kindness as the default setting, even And maybe especially when things are difficult.
Precisely. It's a lifelong training, really.
It really is. And those analogies, the solid earth, the open sky, the cool river, the smooth catskin bag, and that incredibly stark image of the saw, they offer such powerful anchors for the mind, ways to remember this resilience.
They do. They make the abstract very tangible.
So for you listening, as you go about your day, maybe dealing with your own challenges around criticism or conflict, perhaps consider which of those analogies resonates most right now. The earth, the sky, the river, the bag, or even the saw. Reflecting on these ancient teachings might just offer a new way to cultivate a bit more resilience, a bit more peace in your own life.